Cousin. You know, the ones that you have fond memories of in 4th grade when you're just rolling around in the backyard, you're getting into trouble, family reunions, you're constantly hanging out at the kids' table and kind of gossiping and pretending to be adults. Cousin. This is the second Yonex tennis string that I've reviewed on my channel. The first one being Yonex PolyTour Pro, and the link to that is in one of these corners up on the left or right. I haven't figured that out yet, which one. But both YouTubers and other friends of mine in the tennis circle around my area have highly recommended that I try the Yonex PolyTour Strike. So let's review the stiffer version of the Yonex PolyTour Pro. The Yonex PolyTour Strike tennis string review is right now. Around CoPolyester on the stiffer side, that is about $250 a reel and adding up to about $17 per packet. This stiffer version of the PolyTour Pro is a slightly higher asking price than its predecessor that was on this YouTube channel earlier this year. How it played from the baseline. The power is there. It has pretty good ball pocketing, especially for a stiffer CoPolyester. However, the top spin was a little bit lacking. You know how in the Solinco Confidential review and the Solinco Hyper G, I commented there were times where I thought my ground stroke was going to sail long, but it actually landed about 2 or 3 inches inside of the baseline? The Yonex PolyTour Strike actually had an opposite effect, where I thought, based on my footwork and my racket head speed and the point of contact, the ball was going to be inside of the baseline. But it just never dipped, unfortunately. It does have decent spin potential, but for a stiffer CoPolyester, I expected just a little bit more. As for the underspin from the baseline, it was pretty decent. It didn't have as much underspin bite as a Technifiber Razor Code, because that is, again, a much softer string. But for a stiffer CoPolyester such as the PolyTour Strike, it was a little bit better than expected, so props to Yonex on that department. The feel and comfort for, again, a stiffer CoPolyester in this string were pretty good. Similar to the Technifiber Razor Code, I was actually drop shotting a little bit more than usual from the baseline with pretty good confidence. And the ball pocketing on the string, again, for being stiffer, was excellent. Not as good as some of the softer CoPolyesters I reviewed, but it was still better than any type of Solinco Hyper G or the Solinco Confidential. It had a little bit more ball pocketing than a stiffer string like the Luxilon Alu Power as well. The serves and overheads, the power on this string was, I would say, average for flat serves and flat overheads. And for those slice and spin / top spin serves, it was okay. Again, similar to the baseline, I was expecting a little bit more bite from the ball for a stiffer polyester, but it was a little bit disappointing in this case. So Yonex, I personally think you should try and fix that in this type of string that you're providing for your consumers. Nonetheless, the serves and overheads, the ball pocketing and feel were good, similar to what I felt at from the baseline. For the volleys were confident enough to where I could stick it to an open court or put away kind of a sharp angle if it's above the level of the net. Surprisingly, the feel of this string at the net for those finesse and underspin shots where you really want to get under the ball so the ball just dies as it lands over the opponent's side of the net, it was good. Which is kind of surprising because from the baseline, the slices were a little bit better than average, as I said, but top marks for this string for really undercutting those volleys and having it dip over the net and barely be above the level of the ground, probably for a forced error if you could get under it enough and bend your knees. So at 16 gauge, after about 5 hours of straight hitting, the tension on these strings when initially strung at 55 pounds is still at 55 pounds.
Good job, Yonex.
I want to get back to the word I said at the beginning of this video, cousin. It's been 15 years and you're invited to a wedding or some sort of large family reunion, and that cousin of yours that you haven't seen in a decade and a half is actually going to be there. And with all these childhood memories and all the hype between your aunts and uncles saying that your cousin is going to be a doctor at an Ivy League school. And by the way, Ivy League is the equivalent of the Australian National University for those of you that are riding kangaroos down to work down under. You're absolutely hyped to catch up with this person you haven't met in a very, very long time. And alas, when you finally get there, you slowly start to realize that your cousin doesn't have a single redeeming quality and doesn't share any of the childhood memories that you have. And similar to the string, that cousin of yours is just an snobby little Yonex. I'm disappointed in you. For this price point of $250 per reel, the Yonex PolyTour Pro is about $30 less, and it is better in every single category, except for probably durability. The Yonex PolyTour Pro broke for me around the 4-hour mark, and this is still intact after about 5 hours of straight hitting. Now on the other side, this is only $30 less on a reel-by-reel basis than one of the most overpriced strings I have ever reviewed on this channel, the Luxilon Alu Power. I'm really hoping that Yonex changes something with this string, which they probably won't, in order to make it worth the high asking price, or they just lower this string price altogether to something a lot more reasonable. Because as a consumer, I can't recommend this string to anybody at all. If you've ever played with a Yonex PolyTour Strike, leave a comment down and let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts either way. As always, this tennis string was tested with my E-Zone 98 strung at 55 pounds. And the very next tennis string that will be reviewed is, the Solinco Outlast. However, it might be about a full week before I am able to get this out the door, because if you've been following my vlog content on this channel, I do have a men's 4x5 singles tennis tournament in Chicago this coming weekend. So more on that to come later. It is probably a bad idea to enter that tournament with a test string set up in one of your 4 rackets in case I miss-hit quite a few or break quite a few strings more than expected. And as always, hit like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more unbiased weekly tennis string reviews. And as always, happy hitting.